Title: In the Light of the Stage. The Seoul International Arts Conference had always been a gathering for visionaries. Every year, the city's Grand Convention Center opened its doors to musicians, composers, stage directors, and passionate thinkers from around the globe. But no one anticipated what would happen on the third day of the 2025 conference. A moment that would not only change two lives forever, but leave a mark on everyone present. HYUN was brilliant. A classically trained violinist turned stage director, he had made waves in the South Korean art scene with his fusion of modern theater and traditional string compositions. His 2024 production, Winter, Inc., had toured Paris and New York, leaving critics stunned by its haunting minimalism. But what most didn't know, what even he barely admitted to himself, was how deeply he was moved by one man's voice. HYUN, not just any voice. A baritone that could thunder like war drums or whisper like autumn leaves. He was a national icon, having played Javert in Les Miserables for nearly a decade, and then shaking things up with experimental theater in recent years. Known for his depth, discipline, and emotional clarity, HYUN was both intimidating and magnetic. The two had met several times at events and briefly worked together during a K-Arts alumni panel. Their conversations were always polite, slightly formal, but under the surface, something hummed, unspoken, unresolved. HYUN admired him. HYUN watched him. Both said nothing. The conference was buzzing. On day 3, a special session titled Redefining the Stage, Bridging Sound and Story, had drawn a full crowd. HYUN was one of the featured panelists, seated beside industry giants, including HYUN, who had been a last-minute addition. HYUN hadn't expected to see him. He had spent weeks preparing, perfectly curating every slide and talking point. But the moment he saw HYUN take the seat beside him, dressed in a charcoal suit, posture regal, expression unreadable, HYUN felt the precise rhythm of his internal world falter. They exchanged a nod, polite, respectful, but their eyes lingered just a second too long. The moderator welcomed everyone. The panel began. Art, HYUN said into the mic, is about honesty. Even if the form is abstract, the intent must be pure. If you're lying to yourself, your audience will know. There was applause. A few heads nodded thoughtfully. Then HYUN spoke. There's something terrifying about truth, he said, voice low and melodic. Because once you say something honest on stage, you can't unsay it. It becomes part of your story forever. The audience was rapt. HYUN didn't breathe. Was that a coincidence? Or was HYUN speaking to him? The panel continued. Discussions about the evolution of musical theater, hybrid performance models, and AI-assisted stage design. Questions were asked. Answers were given. But there was a tension growing, not aggressive, not hostile, but electric. HYUN interrupted no one. But whenever HYUN spoke, his eyes never left him. During the closing Q&A, someone asked, if theater is about truth, how do you, personally, deal with fear? Fear of judgment? Of being misunderstood? There was a silence. Then HYUN reached for his mic. I'd like to answer that, he said, voice clear. The moderator nodded. Cameras turned toward him. The lights shifted. And HYUN, instead of facing the audience, turned slightly toward HYUN. I've been part of this industry for 20 years. I've sung every emotion you can imagine, hatred, sorrow, love, but always in character. I've always had the protection of a role, a mask. A few people chuckled softly. HYUN continued. But as we talk about truth, I think I owe myself, in this space, something I've never said out loud. HYUN felt something tighten in his chest. HYUN looked straight at him. I've been in love with someone for the past 3 years. The room stilled. I met him in the quietest way, through a discussion on tempo and theatrical tension. He was articulate, thoughtful, brilliant. He didn't try to charm anyone, and yet that's what made him unforgettable. Murmurs rippled through the audience. HYUN's voice softened. He's the kind of man who wears silence like a second skin, who expresses more in a single note of a violin than most do in full speeches. I watched him from a distance. Then I worked with him once, and I told myself that was enough. A sharp exhale escaped HYUN's lips. Junemo stepped down from the panel stage, microphone still in hand. The room was silent. "He's sitting beside me today," he said. Gasps. Phones raised. Hyunwoo looked up, frozen. Young Junemo walked toward him. Slowly, every step deliberate. I told myself not to cross the line. I convinced myself it would ruin things. That he'd never feel the same. That maybe I wasn't worthy of someone so earnest. But I realized today that if I keep hiding behind roles and rehearsals, I'll miss the one story I really want to tell. Junemo stopped in front of him. "So here it is. Ki Hyunwoo, I'm in love with you." A collective silence fell. Hyunwoo looked at him, wide-eyed, unmoving. Then, without breaking eye contact, he stood. Tears glistened in his eyes, and his lips parted, but no words came. Instead, he did something even more vulnerable. He stepped forward and embraced him. The room erupted. Some clapped, some stood, a few cried. It wasn't just a confession. It was a moment of raw, unscripted beauty in a world obsessed with performances. A reminder that love, when spoken honestly, had the power to steal the spotlight from even the grandest productions. Backstage, the organizers buzzed about press releases and PR strategy. But neither Hyunwoo nor Junemo cared. They were seated side by side now, microphones off, fingers barely brushing. "You planned this." Hyunwoo whispered. Junemo smiled. "Not until you quoted Rilke in your opening speech." Hyunwoo blinked. "You remember that?" "Every word," Junemo said, gently taking his hand. In the weeks that followed, the moment went viral. The video of the conference hit 10 million views in 3 days. Artists from around the world sent letters, praising the courage and vulnerability. Some critics called it a meta-performance that shattered boundaries between life and theater. But for Hyunwoo and Junemo, none of that mattered. What mattered was a morning coffee in quiet kitchens. The way Junemo hummed while chopping onions. How Hyunwoo would place his violin case gently by the door, knowing he was home. They took their time, slowly blended their lives. No performances. No masks. Only truth. On the anniversary of that conference, the Seoul Philharmonic hosted a special event titled The Sound of Truth. Hyunwoo composed a new piece, an experimental fusion of orchestral strings and baritone voice. Junemo performed it. No characters, no script, just a man singing the story of how he found courage and love in the light of the stage. As the final note lingered, the audience rose to their feet. But behind the curtain, in the quiet, Junemo turned to Hyunwoo and whispered, "Thank you for being my stage." Hyunwoo smiled, eyes glistening. "And you," he said softly, "are my song." The backstage corridor of the Seoul Convention Center was quiet, lit only by the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant buzz of the auditorium. The conference panel had just wrapped. Laughter echoed from the main hall as attendees moved toward the networking lounges. But Ki Hyunwoo wasn't laughing. He was standing alone, his hand pressed flat against the cool wall, breathing like a man who had just come up from deep underwater. He could still hear Junemo's voice echoing in his head. "I've been in love with someone for the past 3 years." It was surreal, not just the words, but the way they'd been delivered. Calm, grounded, with the same gravitas Junemo used when singing lines that shatter hearts in the front row of a musical. He hadn't confessed like a man afraid. He'd done it like a man stepping into the light after a lifetime in shadow. And the thing that scared Hyunwoo most was that he'd wanted it. Flashback 1 month earlier. The day had been gray, drizzling with rain that misted the air and made the city look like a watercolor painting. Ki Hyunwoo had just finished a closed rehearsal for Moonlight Rites, his upcoming hybrid stage piece. It had gone poorly. Equipment failures, a miscue, and a violinist storming out after a tempo disagreement. He sat on the edge of the stage, soaked in creative defeat. Then he heard that voice. "You expect perfection from chaos." Juno asked gently, standing at the rear of the rehearsal space, arms crossed. Hyunwoo blinked. "How did you get in?" "Your assistant." Junemo shrugged. "She owes me 2 tickets from last year's Phantom. I collected." Hyunwoo rolled his eyes but couldn't help the faint smile. Junemo walked slowly toward him, the way he always did, measured, steady, like a storm that gave fair warning. "You shouldn't be so hard on yourself," Junimo said, voice low, standing a few feet away. "I'm not," Hyuno replied. "I'm hard on the work." Junimo tilted his head. "But you are the work." For a moment, Hyuno couldn't look at him. Something inside cracked open at those words. It was the first time anyone had really seen him. Not just the artist, not the name of the program, but the man beneath all the layers. "Stay," Hyuno had said suddenly. Junimo blinked. "What?" "Sit, just for a bit. I don't want to be alone right now." So Junimo sat beside him on the stage's edge. And for 23 silent minutes, they listened to the rain hitting the rooftop. They never spoke of it again. Back to present post-panel. Ki Hyuno was still backstage, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Every word Junimo had said in front of that audience replayed in his mind like a haunting refrain. The confession wasn't a stunt. It wasn't performative. It had been real, too real. And now, what was he supposed to do with it? Just then, the dressing room door creaked open. Junimo entered quietly, his expression unreadable, his suit jacket slightly rumpled. He looked tired, but not nervous. "I thought you'd run," he said simply. Hyuno turned slowly. "You just told 1,000 people you love me, and you think I'd run?" "I wouldn't blame you," Junimo said. "I didn't plan to say it. But then you looked at me during your third answer, and something just told me to stop being a coward." Hyuno took a step closer. "You think I didn't see you watching me for the past year?" Junimo blinked. "You noticed?" "Always." A pause. Then Hyuno said it, quietly, almost like a question. "I've been scared too, you know." Junimo's voice dropped. "Of what?" Hyuno swallowed. "Of wanting this. Of letting it ruin what little closeness we already had. I'd rather have quiet glances and long silences than lose you completely." Junimo took a step forward now. "I don't want quiet glances anymore," he said. "I want mornings and arguments about coffee filters. I want late-night edits to your scores and warming up next to you before curtain call. I want us, Hyuno." His voice cracked on the last word. Hyuno's eyes filled again. He laughed bitterly. "Damn you. You always know how to hit the emotional climax." Junimo gave a faint smile. Old habit. They stood inches apart. And then, in a moment that felt more intimate than any standing ovation or bouquet toss or closing night encore, Hyuno reached up, gently brushed Junimo's collar straight, and whispered, "Okay, I'm in." Junimo didn't kiss him, not yet. That would come later. For now, they just stood there, two men who had finally found the courage to write a scene with no stage, no spotlight, no mask, only truth. Later that night, they sat on the rooftop of Hyuno's studio apartment, sipping from paper cups of ginger tea, wrapped in a single blanket. Below them, Seoul glowed like circuitry, alive and humming. "I don't know what happens next," Hyuno said. "That's the beauty of it," Junimo replied. "We get to write together." A long pause. Then Hyuno turned to him and asked, "Was it really 3 years?" Junimo chuckled. "Yes. Then we've got a lot of time to make up for." Junimo leaned in and finally kissed him. It was unhurried, grounded, like the final note of sonata held just long enough to echo in the heart. And in that moment, under the quiet stars, surrounded by the noise of the city and the silence of new beginnings, Ki Hyuno realized. He wasn't afraid anymore.